everyone, I'm Lucy Farron, CZT, and I'm here today on day 28 of the 100-day project for 2022, which is my periodic table of tangles. So this morning I am looking at 4 tangles just because I didn't want to miss one out, and I'm looking at tangles that are kind of, we'd call them radiating tangles, radial tangles, tangles that kind of radiate out from a central point. And I was led to these by some of the tangles I was drawing last week. So the tangles we are looking at today are Dyon, Droop, Fracas and Ixorus. So, as I say, they all kind of start in the same way. And that's with some crossing lines, which can, well, I guess they're kind of straightish lines, but they can have a bit of a curve to them. So we're going to start all of these in the same way, but I'm going to start with Dyon, just because I think it's definitely the most simple one. So we're going to start with some lines that cross over each other, and then some more lines that cross over each other. So I'm trying to avoid the nice little embedded letter there. We're going to curve these a bit. Okay, so diagonals and then horizontal and vertical as well. I'm going to set each of these little tiles up in the same way. So, in fact, I'm going to do that now. Draw it for all of them to show that they all start exactly the same way. And then they each progress in a slightly different way. So all of these tangles are kind of symmetrical in one way or another. And they don't have to be drawn with 8 parts to them. You can obviously draw them with less parts, more parts if you want. I think it's nice and easy because you can go from corner to corner and horizontal and vertical. So it's just a nice easy way to start these tangles, but there's no kind of set rule to say, you know, you could have, I think in the step out this one has 6 lines instead of 8, but it's not going to make any difference to the actual tangle. So I'm going to stick with the 8 sections for each today just to demonstrate their similarities. Okay, so let's nip back to Dyon. And Dyon is the simplest because we don't do anything with these lines now. We just fill in each section in the same way with some C shapes. And it's kind of up to you how you would draw this. So you might fill in one section all in one go, or you might go put the same bit in each section and then go round again. And I think that's probably how I'm going to do it. There really isn't a right or wrong of it. So we've just got some C shapes. So start in the middle and add a C, and then kind of follow around with that in the same sort of position in all your sections. The same kind of distance from the centre. And then I'm going to do that again, a little way off. So it's like a curvy C aura. So then we're going to come around again, and these can be reasonably close together and then maybe get further apart, or you can keep the spacing the same. There's no kind of right or wrong about it. It's having to work behind the embedded letter there. That's not a problem. And then go again. As I say, of course, you could kind of draw all of those lines all in one go and then do the next section. Entirely up to you, whatever you're feeling like on the day. It depends how much you want to turn your tile. So it's a very simple tangle with lots of opportunities for adding some embellishments within these sections. And in fact, one of the later tangles is a little bit like kind of an embellished version of that when we look at Droop. In fact, that's next. So Droop is very similar, just a little bit more detail on Droop. So the first thing we do with Droop is we need to aura each of these sections. Both sides, so these triangle sections receive an aura. And once again, Droop is made of kind of C shapes and these straightish lines. They don't have to be straight, these lines, they could be, you know, gently curved or S-shaped. If you want it. There's definitely a whole bunch of radiating tangles that radiate out from a point, which I've been kind of looking into some of them over the last week. A bit different from some of the others I've been looking at so far. So Droop is similar to Dyon in that our C shapes curve basically in the same way, sort of outwards, but they receive an aura. So we'd have one little one and then an aura, and then the same in all the sections, giving it some nice rotational symmetry. Just kind of lining those up. With each other as you come around. Gaps don't have to be sort of equal angles at all. And then that just gets repeated a little way off. So you'd have another C a little way off, a bit like Dyon, and then aura. You can see it's really kind of an aura'd version of Dyon so far. Sometimes, you know, tangles are very similar to each other. And other times there are tangles that aren't like anything else at all. And then we go again. Off the tile mostly at this point. Just working out whether you'd see any more of those lines. Okay, so that's almost Droop. Droop usually gets a little bit more detail, some weighting and some additional kind of detail in the gaps. So I'm going to add that, like on the step out, but I guess you could just fill it however you wanted to. Really, it doesn't have to be done. Remember that the little bits at the end of the step outs are often kind of just suggestions. Like, you don't have to do this. This is one option for you, and do it or don't do it. So I'm going to do it this time just to kind of differentiate it from Dyon. But it is just one way of filling these sections. So first thing it's got is a little bit of weighting on kind of one side of the aura. That's a nice little way to add a little bit of ink. I'm just kind of, it's just a, I'm doing this all the same thickness of throughout, but you might want to do it kind of getting wider in the middle and narrowing off. I prefer it a bit more like that. So I suppose I could draw an aura here and then fill it in, but I'm just kind of, there are different ways of doing this. I'm just kind of sketching it in and colouring it in as I go. Not really drawing a line and then filling it in. Just kind of drawing a wide line. I suppose you could use a thicker pen for that if you wanted to. So the last little bit of droop is some kind of little straight lines, fill in the gaps. But you know, this is, as I say, just one thing you can do to fill these spaces. And they don't have to touch the other lines if you don't want them to. Just kind of leave an aura gap there. Or they can touch, totally up to you. You don't need to do these in a particular order, it's all the same. Same in the middle, same in each section. Although you could, if you wanted to, you know, do different things in each kind of row if you wanted to. It might be quite fun. Oh, and the middle, of course. So, Dyon and Drupe. Next one we're looking at is Fracas. That's how you say it. Again, this starts with some auras. Around the original lines that went down. Very similar to Droop. Which am I trying to aura? Kind of on the wrong side of the line there for me as a right-hander, but it saves turning the tile lots of times. So that's auraing that side is awkward for me, but otherwise we'll be backwards and forwards with the tile flipping round. Make you dizzy. So Fracas has C curves, but they go in the other direction, so they kind of point inwards. And usually when you see this tangle, they get coloured in a little bit like striping or bunzo, I suppose. And they can be equal spaced or maybe closer together in the middle to give kind of an effect of going in. This one always makes me think of a spider's web. So again, you can draw them one at a time, or you could do fill in the whole section. There's no hard and fast rule. And this is a fun one to maybe do a more kind of embellished version rather than just colouring in the stripes. I think I'm going to keep mine quite even, but as I say, it's an option to kind of have them closer together in the middle and get further apart as you go out. It's your choice. very sort of satisfying drawing a radial tangle, a radiating tangle, and a continual kind of turning of your tile to the next bit in. Right, and then what happens with that is, well, you could have kind of coloured along the way, to be honest, but yeah, there's no kind of hard and fast rule. So these will get coloured alternately black and white, and if you want to, you can kind of leave a bit of sparkle there, like you might do on bunzo or striping. So I'll do that today. One of my favourite tangle enhancers. Flicking your pen a little bit to get that sort of feathered edge. A bit trickier on the smaller sections, easier on the bigger sections. So that's Fracas. And the final tangle we're looking at today is Xaurus. And I do wonder about the name of some of these tangles. I wonder whether this one is, I don't know the answers, like X or S maybe, because there's kind of a hidden S shape in this tangle. So this one starts in a slightly different way than the others. After you've got the initial kind of X shape down, in that we only aura one side of the line. It doesn't get a double aura, although you could do a double aura if you wanted to, just for a variation. And this is an interesting tangle in that this tangle gave birth to the word tangulation. If you read back in the old newsletter where this tangle was introduced, it was kind of the introduction of the word tangulation, so a variation on a tangle that might be, not quite a new tangle, but you're doing the same thing but changing it slightly. So the next step on this tangle is kind of, if you it does feel like an S shape to me, but kind of a tucking behind S shape, or you can just draw it over the top if you want to, but it kind of ends up looking like two C shapes either side of the line, but they do kind of link up to be like an S. So I'm going to kind of do mine like a tucking behind S each time. So what we do is we start at the top and we have one kind of coming there. If you imagine an S kind of tucking behind and then finishing off. And this one's quite different from the others that we've just looked at, because it doesn't have that reflection symmetry, but it does have rotational symmetry. Because these are all facing the same way, they're not yeah, you can see that rotational symmetry. Can't see that one at all really. So yeah, this is slightly different. I didn't want to leave this one out though, because it doesn't really sit with not many other tangles that are quite like this, which actually means that, you know, there are prime opportunities for there to be some. So usually in the kind of the standard version of Ixorus, these get blacked in, and this tangle in that regard reminds me of kind of a radial version of Crescent Moon. These feel a little bit like the little shapes that you start Crescent Moon with, and then usually it does get aurid. These shapes get aurid, so yeah, it has a real kind of Crescent Moon feel to it. So in the newsletter where this was launched, there are some tangulations of it. One done with, rather than this S shape, which gives kind of two C shapes, it's done with straight lines, so you get like two triangles, a triangle here and a triangle there, which is a nice tangulation, kind of a straight line tangulation. And then there's actually another tangulation, which is just adding some, rather than blacking in these shapes, they just get a little bit of rounding in the corner, which is nice. So yeah, there are lots of different options. So usually with this tangle, the next step would be to aura these. So that's what we'll do. And then I've seen it done both ways in terms of what you do with your auras after the first aura. So you can either kind of do, well, so think Crescent Moon. But often with Crescent Moon, all our auras join up and form just one aura. You can draw it in the way of like alternating auras, so that they kind of crisscross and weave. So that's another option. But that's not the main part of this tangle. The main part of this tangle is the kind of the initial bit that we've just done with the initial X and these shapes that form kind of an S. So the auras are, you know, kind of take them or leave them sort of thing. So I think I'm going to just do kind of ordinary Crescent Moon auras. So I have mine joining up rather than alternating and weaving for today. Got to imagine where those ones would be a little bit. So you can choose what you do here at the end. You don't have to aura at all if you don't want to. Do something else. Fill with something else. That's the fabulous thing about Zentangle. You just can change things up, change things around. There are no hard and fast rules. Whatever takes you on the day. And that's Xaurus with auras. So here are the four for today. Nice four, similar, they might sit near each other in the table, and I will be running through all the tiles that I drew last week as well in another part of this video, so I'll see you again in a minute. Bye.